Here we are again. This place still gives me the chills.
Well, at least we now have our new orcish friends to delight us with their company.
You don't seem happy about this.
I just don't like the idea of putting my fate into the hands of these savages. What happened there at Barga Gore was nothing short of a bloodbath.
Revolts tend to be bloody.
I know, but... never mind.
Yes.
There you are again. Gore's new friend. I truly hope he knows what he's doing. Orcs following the orders of a pale skin. That hasn't happened before. But, to be fair, you've given me little reason to distrust you. You did great in that battle against Krell.
Thank you. So you're the commander of the Fire Wielders?
Chieftain. And I serve Gore, our High Chieftain, who follows your advice. In other words, I'm the third down the list. Mainly, I'm here to make sure our warriors stay in shape and are well equipped. And if you're willing to invest some coin, I might even come up with a way to permanently increase their strength.
I want to train the Fire Wielders.
All right. Here's what we can do. Zauraka, what do you need?
There was something I wanted to ask you about what happened in Barga Gore. You asked us to bring you the K-Ren's champion head because he did something to your sister. What exactly happened?
Sorry, Tahar, but that's none of your business.
How did the bloodburn affect the orcs?
It still does. For some reason, not as often as in human lands. But nonetheless, and when it hit, it did so with full force. There were 2 outbreaks among the Fire Wielders, and every time, the affected died within a couple of days. The K-Ran clan was hit the hardest.
Interesting. I wonder why the races react so differently.
Well, I'm a warrior, not a shaman or an elder. You'll have to find out yourself.
Can you tell me more about the Fire Wielders? About your traditions?
Well, since Gore is now our High Chieftain, he's the one you should talk to. But I'll do my best.
The Mage Wars. How did they affect the orcs?
Hardly. Some tribes, like the Fleshkins and the Ash Reavers, used the chance to invade your lands. As you've noticed in that Iskander village, Farland's Hope. Apart from that, we just stood out of it. Though, of course, we had our own sack of problems to deal with, such as idiots like Krell.
I'll be going, Tsar. Thanks for your help.
Sure.
Now would you look at that?
So, this is it? Your fabled fortress?
You don't sound...
It'll do. All I need is a good forge. My ingenious mind will do the rest. Though these orcish smiths you've employed so far certainly don't deserve their title.
What do you mean?
Because they are amateurs, and that's putting it lightly. Just give me some coin for material and send them my way. Then I can teach them what a true orcish axe or armor should look like.
Will do. So long, Berg.
Yes, of course. Goodbye.
And
Yes. Looking for some orcish craftsmanship? Yes. Looking for some orcish craftsmanship?
Interesting.
What do you want?
Just checking how you're settling in.
I'm good. Thanks. Interesting place you found yourself here. I'll give you that.
How did you end up in Barga Gore?
It's a long story. Suffice to say, I've been on the road for quite some time now. And Barga Gore just happened to be my last spot before I ran into you. Let's talk about you instead. You gathered a ton of followers, one outcast after another. Tell me, Tahar, do you trust them?
course I do.
Huh. To be honest, I don't understand how you can do it. You have that look about you, and it's driving me nuts.
What do you mean by that?
I've observed you on the way back from Barga Gore. The way you move, the way you talk. I get why other people follow your lead. I really do. You simply have some kind of strange charisma. It's not visible at first glance, but it's there. You give people hope. I guess that's what it boils down to. You attract outsiders, and you get them to march under your banner.
How's that a bad thing?
It's a bad thing because you're too careless. All these people, did it ever occur to you that they're outsiders for a reason? The treacherous orc, the renegade elf, the exiled dwarf? Still, you trust them. Even if you put your stern face on, I can see that you do. And it's why people follow you. But trust doesn't protect from betrayal. But let's stop this right here, okay? I'm sure you have things to do, and so do I. Huh?
So, have you gotten past that I don't trust you thing? I want to know more about you.
Well, there isn't that much to know about me, Tahar. I'm a demonologist from Kalea, and I've been on the road for a couple of years now. That's it.
Wait, you're Kalayan?
Yeah. And I know I don't have the accent, but that was a lot of training.
What made you come to Northander?
Long story, and I don't want to talk about it. Anything else, Tahar? If not, let me get back to my grimoire.
Can you tell me more about Kalea? What's it like there?
It's a pretty general question, Corporal.
Kalea is a city-state, isn't it? Like Everlight?
Yeah. Well, almost. When people say Kalea, they usually refer to the chain of islands in the Sea of Dreams, a couple of miles from Imperia. However, only the big one in the middle is really inhabited. And that one's pretty much just a massive city called Kalea. Nobody can remember the names of the other islands, not even the Kaleans themselves. But yeah, it's essentially a city-state. And even though Kalea is small, it's very powerful. You know, spices, sugar, sea jewels, all the kind of stuff a tropical paradise has to offer.
Rich as a Kalayan, isn't that how they say?
Yeah, though that ignores the fact that there's thousands of Kalayans starving to death in the slums.
Do you happen to know if Kalea is affected by the Bloodburn too?
Don't think so, no. At least I haven't heard anything.
There's been a lot of tension between Northander and Kalea during the Mage War. How is the situation now?
I haven't been back since, so I couldn't tell you. But according to the sailors, things have gotten better.
What are Kalayans like, compared to Northandians?
Huh. Good question. I don't spend that much time socializing, so I don't know if I can give you the answer to that. But all in all, Kalayans are a lot less stiff than you Nort folks. Kalayans like to sing, to dance, and to fuck. They do it a lot, sometimes at the same time. They admire philosophy and magic, and being good in either of those makes you the equivalent of a famous bard here in Greyfell. On the other hand, the people are two-faced. That's a lot better here in Northander. You have your little intrigues, but you generally say what you mean, which Kalayans see as almost primitive.
Never mind. I'll be going. Yes.
Zal Raka.
Gore, how are you and the Firewielders settling in?
All right, I guess. Though there've been some quarrels between my warriors and these Mohir elves. But don't worry, I took care of it. And that elven scryer promised to do the same. Nonetheless, Tahar, I have to say it. I don't like this place. Not at all.
Why not?
I guess it's the people who once lived here. The Shapers. They were corrupted. And I can feel that corruption even now.
Corrupted?
Yeah. Their customs, their culture. They were completely detached from the order of nature.
How so?
Do you even need to ask? Just look around. Ghost warriors, strange machines, strange buildings. Especially this place, this Nexus. They thought they were above everything, even the gods. And they meddled with things they didn't understand. It's disgusting.
Well, they're dead now.
Maybe. But I can still feel their presence. Anyway, nothing we can do about it. If the Shapers caused the blood burn, I understand why we need this place. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Huh?
Back in Barga Gor, you told me that you think the orcs should strive to be more. What do you mean by that? Do you consider your culture to be, well, inferior?
Inferior? No, not at all. On the contrary, I'm glad to be a fire wielder, and not a human or an elf.
Why?
Because not so unlike the Shapers, your culture is bigoted, strange. You like to tell yourselves you're more than the animals you slaughter for food. You call yourselves civilized. But in the end, you look for the struggle just as anything and anyone else does. But of course you don't admit to it. You want to be better than that. And the result are lies, intrigue, wars, and assassinations. Your culture is so bizarre that it's almost amusing.
Well, you have a point.
I know. So no, I don't consider our culture to be inferior. But we've gone astray. Fools such as Krell was one. They're the reason your race looks down on us. If Zakrak had wanted us to be ever-fighting, ravaging brutes, he wouldn't have given us minds to begin with. Every brawl, every battle, every war has to have a purpose. It isn't something done for pleasure. Yes, it can be enjoyed. But at its core, it is ritual. The most basic one of nature.
In other words, violence and war are good and necessary, but only within measure?
Yes, and it should be learned from. That's where most orcs disagree. They claim to value wisdom, but when asked to choose between words and a club, they always choose the club. And as you see, this is why our culture has stagnated. In its current state, there will never be an orc empire, a great tribe, or the earth-shaking horde Zarek envisioned.
So what you want is to lead your people to a better future.
You make it sound so dramatic. For now, the Fire Wielders are a good start. And by helping you, they will hopefully see that diplomacy and strength don't always contradict each other. After that, we shall see.
Don't you think a world without violence is possible?
No.
Why? Isn't that what we should all aspire to?
We should aspire to a lot of things. But tell me, Tahar, this world has existed for millennia. And has there ever been peace? Lasting peace?
At times, yes.
At times, exactly as I said. Our very existence is based on conflict. Finding food, not freezing to death. Living means to struggle. Your people, with your warm clothes and banquets, try all in your power to forget that fact. But you can't, because ultimately, there's as much thirst for struggle in you as in an orc. What we orcs believe is that we should embrace it, that we should just face the truth, even if it's ugly. That the ways of nature can't be changed by its creation. It's like fighting the tides.
So, what? Do we just kill each other whenever we feel like it?
No. What we need is a way to channel our urges. Ceremonial battles, arenas, a society that is centered around survival and strength, and gains rather than loses stability from it. Because if we simply suppress these urges, such as humans, the elves, and the dwarves do, they will at one point only erupt even more violently.
I never looked at it that way, but I think you might be right.
You never fail to surprise, Tahar. Anyway, where were we?
Well, thanks for explaining.
Sure.
What's it like to change form? I've been wondering about that since I met you.
I can imagine. It's exhilarating and strange at the same time. If it taught me one thing, then it's how foolish it is to put the mind above every other aspect of the body. Many people do that, especially scholars or mages.
What do you mean?
Because the shape of our flesh is so much more than just a shell. It defines us. When I take on the form of a wolf, for example, this wolf isn't just me with fangs and paws. It's a different version of myself.
A different version?
Yes. You can't understand if you haven't been there. But I guess you could say that when I'm taking on a creature's form, a part of my mind gets infused with that creature's essence. The thirst for the hunt, thinking as part of a pack, just to name the most obvious aspects. They meld with my mind. When I was young and first started shifting, the creature always dominated. It was like a feverish dream, and I had almost no control over my actions. With time, it got better.
How do you learn a new form?
That's complicated. First, you have to understand that creature, observe it, live with it if possible. That can take months, years, sometimes decades. Then there's what we shamans call the first joining. You have to visualize your shift.
How does that work?
I can't explain it. It's like your first bloodshed. It can't be explained, only experienced.
So, in theory, could you transform into anything? Even say, a wyvern, a dragon?
In theory, yes. In practice, there's no known shapeshifter who has ever done that. Save for old orcish legends, maybe.
Why not?
First off, there aren't many dragons around to study. And even if there were, you aren't likely to survive it. Secondly, transforming into something that enormous, it can be lethal. Our minds, our essence just isn't fit to govern such a massive body. Only some years ago, there was talk of an Ash Reaver shifter who had attempted to morph into a troll. He succeeded, but his heart, the troll's heart, stopped before he could take a single step. So you see why most shifters aren't that eager to experiment.
Well, that's definitely interesting. Thanks for taking the time to explain.
Sure.
I'll be off.
Huh?
I'll be off.